This is Idaho Sports Talk. Probably been listening to this show for a long time, and we appreciate every stinking one of those years, Prater. We have, first off, it's NFL Draft Week. That's kind of the number one thing going around here. We're wrapping up Boise State spring football. We have some killer guests coming this week. It's concert week, so we're giving away tickets to cool shows every single hour this week. We have a lot to get to so far, and we're going to start right now, brother. Hopefully you're ready.
I'm totally ready. I'm very fired up and ready, and let's get after it. This is a great time of the year and lots of fun, and also keeping an eye on the transfer portal, football and basketball right now.
Max Rice, Boise State Hoops. He's getting ready for the next phase of his journey, but before that, he's going to come back to his home, the rowpaint.com studio. Prater, tomorrow at this time, we'll have Max Rice sitting in between us talking about, I heard he's working out. I heard he's dedicated. He's going to figure out where his pro opportunities will be, but he's going to give us all that info. Prater, no holds barred tomorrow with Max. He's not a player here anymore.
Yeah, but there's never been no hold barred with Max because that's the beauty of Max. Max is a big boy. Max has heard it all. Max has handled it all. Max has seen it and heard it all. So even a couple of knuckleheads like us aren't going to be able to phase him on tomorrow. So 5:00 tomorrow, Max Rice in studio, and then Wednesday, same chair, same time. Andrew Simpson, rising star linebacker, Boise State. We announced earlier in the show that it was going to be Alexander Tubner. There was a scheduling conflicts. We just got back in touch with Boise State. Andrew Simpson is 100% confirmed and is going to jump in. One of my favorite players. I did my soapbox on this dude on Friday. As we kind of previewed the spring game. We all love this dude. Ball game, you love this dude. Bob loves this dude.
Yeah.
And he's going to come in, and he's kind of like the this is a little bit of a stretch. He's kind of like the Dirk Cutter of the defense.
What?
No hold barred, no filter, speaks with a lot of improvement and inspiration and dedication to get better. And I just like the way this guy handles his business. No coach speak coming from Andrew.
Yep.
Either one of these guys. Max Rice unplugged, Andrew Simpson unplugged. And then obviously on Thursday, the first round of the NFL draft.
I'll even throw in former NFL All-Pro, Pro Bowl defensive lineman, Prater, Luther Ellis. Now he's coaching for your Utah Utes. He has his fourth son who is entering the NFL draft. Two of the previous three were drafted, still playing in the league. And Jonah Ellis, the pass rusher from the University of Utah, a Moscow high school graduate. He was one of the only players with Idaho ties we could find in this draft, Prater, and we get his dad on, a great person.
Yeah, I can't wait. I love Luther Ellis, love bringing him on, and that always gets me fired up. There's no doubt that Jonah Ellis, he's the only guaranteed Idaho player guaranteed. He's a lock for the NFL draft. He probably will go on Friday.
Okay.
I suppose he could slip till Saturday, though, based on the way these things go, but a high school kid straight from Moscow. And then Salt Lake City, looking forward to that conversation.
It's going to be awesome, man. Hey, the good, the bad, even the ugly. Did you go to the Boise State spring game and you want to pop on the radio in front of Prater and myself and a few thousand friends and share your thoughts on that spring game? If you do, Double Tap Pub Hotline, 208-424-9300. JP, let them know. Again, a good, a bad, or an ugly moment for you on the spring game. Heck, it could be something that, hey, this guy was really nice to my kid in the autograph line after the game on the Blue, and I wanted to call and give this player a shout out for being really cool to my kid. 208-424-9300. We'll take those calls because Prater, right now, I mean, we're finally tying this package up. We're putting it away. Boise State Spring Camp 2024 comes. And then it goes, my friend.
And we'll wrap it up for good with Andrew Simpson on Wednesday, like we said. And next week, we're going to start that series that we started pre-spring camp, the 15 most important players on the Boise State roster. We counted that sucker down leading up to spring camp. We told you we were going to revamp that entire list and come out after spring ball and come up with our list of 15 most important players. I don't know how much exercise you've done on this, Johnny, because it's not till next week. But out of the 15, I'm kicking at least 5 out and bringing 5 new ones in.
At least, man. Yeah, I'm with you on that too. I just looked at my last list earlier today. Haven't put the new one together, but that'll be a fun exercise on Idaho Sports Talk. 208-424-9300 on the Double Tap Pub hotline. All right, Prater, let's start with some of these awards here, Prater, for the Boise State spring football campaign. How about comeback player of the camp. Of all the players who had to come back from something this or the other, who's the Prater Award going to for comeback player of the spring?
Maddox Madsen. And Maddox Madsen blew us all the way in the first couple of days, actually the first couple of hours, maybe even the first couple of half hours of Boise State's spring camp way back a month or two ago. Actually, it's been about maybe 5 weeks. And Maddox Madsen, he had that knee injury last fall. I don't think we ever thought that it was going to be an ACL, because we got hints that it wasn't a serious knee injury, as in the serious kind of knee injury. So Maddox eventually confirmed that it was a PCL and an MCL, no ACLs, but we didn't know that. And so Ballgame and I show up for the very first morning, the very first spring camp, and Maddox Madsen is out there. And they told us he was going to do a little bit of team drills, or not team drills, individual drills, maybe throw some balls in 7-on-7. We showed up and that dude was pretty much doing everything. He didn't really participate in full-on 11-on-11 drills, and we were able to see that this year for the first time. But Maddox Madsen did everything. He ran around all the time, every single 15 practices, about half the practices, mostly the ones without pads. He didn't even have a knee brace on. And toward the end, he was rolling right, rolling left, digging his foot in and creating leverage with his hips and his legs. And it was just a beautiful thing to watch, considering where that guy was from. So when he wasn't throwing the ball, he was coaching, he was on the headset, he was working with the coaches. It was really cool to see Maddox Madsen, who's just a great dude. And it was really cool to see him out there participating and literally being one of the guys despite having that knee injury.
That's a good one. Maddox Madsen, Prater's comeback player of camp. I'm going to keep with the offense. I'm going to go Latrell Caples. He was in our studio a few weeks back. He had 4 catches for 40 yards in the spring game, led all players in catches, was second in receiving yards. Chase Penry, 48, was number 1. Check that. Prince Strawn, 48, was number 1. But Latrell Caples highlighted by a terrific pass from Malachi Nelson on a 23-yard play early on in the scrimmage. And we've been seeing him throughout camp. Latrell Caples, he's had a good spring. He's been out there. He's working in at punt return as well. And I'll tell you, if anybody was concerned about just what kind of Latrell Caples they're going to get this year, I would suggest to them, hey, having seen what I've seen this camp, doubling that down with the performance in the spring game, I think you're going to get the best version of Latrell Caples this year. I think Trell is primed to have the best season of his career. So comeback player for the year for me, Latrell Caples. For Prater, or camp, I should say, Maddox Madsen. All right, Prater, breakout player. All the spring we've seen, which player busted down that Spencer Danielson door more than anybody for you?
Yeah, there was 2 or 3 guys, and I know you got a good one, but I like my guy too, Sire Gaines, the running back. Sire Gaines is probably going to be running back number 3 going into this season, or maybe eventually it's going to be running back 1 and then running back 2 and 2A and 2B, because Sire Gaines showed us that this dude can run the football. When Boise State signed him, and he's part of the new class, they never even gave him a position. They just said athlete when they signed him. That was the press release, athlete, A-T-H, athlete. And we didn't know if he was going to play on defense, didn't know if he was going to play on offense. When you see an athlete, that means he's big, strong, fast, everything that you want from an athlete. But can he really play football? When I see the ATH attached to somebody's name, my mind goes in the wrong direction. Bad, because we can't figure out if this guy's a football player or not, but he's obviously got some skill. Sire Gaines can play football. He can play running back. We didn't get to see the physicality of running backs like we want to in the fall, but I saw enough to prove to me that this guy can take care of business. He looked good on Saturday. He looked good on all the practices. At times, because they were bubble wrapping Ashton Genty, it seemed like all 3 of the running backs were getting equal reps. Sire Gaines got a ton of reps. I don't know if anybody grew up more so on this football team during spring camp than Sire Gaines. Sire Gaines, my running back. Love with that dude. He is my breakout player.
He was 17 years old, or he's 17 years old. First time he's ever been away from mama, dad, whoever his family is. And he's out having that type of spring. That's a good one. That's probably a little better than my breakout, but Jake Ripp, the linebacker, is my breakout player from Boise State spring camp. And more of me taking other people's word for it than Johnny Ballgame crunching linebacker footage from practice. They just don't tackle ever, if often. And I saw Jake Ripp have one real nice play on Ashton Genty and in an earlier practice on the blue earlier in spring ball. But I mean, he led the way defensively for the Broncos in the spring game with 4 total tackles, had a sack and a TFL. And just from what we're hearing, Coach Shenander, Ashton Genty in this studio couldn't stop talking about the camp that Jake Ripp was having. So Jake the Ripper, not Jack the Ripper. Hey, man, you broke out, ripped apart spring camp. All right, let's take a call in between these. Robert, you're first up on the Double Tap Pub hotline. We want good, bad, ugly, heck, wherever you want to go regarding the Boise State spring game. Robert, what do you have?
I thought it was all good. You know, my wife finally got out on the blue. We got a bunch of autographs. I looked down, and there is Zambransky. I'm like, hey, Jared, can I get an auto? Guy come over, big hug, auto, high five. I thought it was a very good game, and we got so many weapons out there. I was really impressed with Malachi. I think Prince Straunt did really, really well. I thought that interception on the D was pretty dang good, too. I think our team for spring game looks incredible, fast, and I think they were just having fun.
Kind of what you want from a spring game. You're not going to get a lot of substance. So if they can show off like that, sign a few autographs, give a few high fives, I think that's exactly what that spring game is.
That's so funny, and that's so Boise State, and I love Bronco Nation. But the highlight for Robert this spring game was getting an autograph from Jared Zambransky afterwards.
150 former players were in town. They all stuck around afterwards for the alumni dinner up in the Stickle Skybox on Saturday night. 150 former players all in one room working their magic. I can't imagine the stories that were being told. There are all kinds of NFL guys. It was good to see Avery Williams back in the house and so many other different dudes.
Yeah.
That's one of the more fun things of, by the way, did you ever see Ken Griffey Jr. on Saturday?
No, I didn't, man. And I looked big time.
Never came up.
I guess they had a suite up there in the Stickle, I bet.
Maybe.
He probably didn't want to deal with all the riffraff like me on the sidelines, right?
He can probably afford a suite.
It's probably what happened. All right, Prater, most improved Boise State football player of spring camp. Who's yours?
I'm going to give this one with a little bit of an asterisk, a little bit of a reservation, but I'm going to go with tight end Matt Lauder, who really blew us away with some of his individual catches. And there were times out of 15 practices, Matt Lauder was the star of practice.
Yep.
At least 2 or 3 different times where we walked away and said, who was the best player today? And Ballgame and I looked at each other, Matt Lauder, Matt Lauder, Matt Lauder. Matt Lauder, according to, we didn't see him out there half the time. He was either not there or going through some rehab or making big plays. Coach Cutter talked about him, needs him to be more available because he's really intrigued by his abilities. But Matt Lauder did a great job. He didn't show up. He didn't show up. He wasn't active for the spring game on Saturday, so we didn't get to see him there. I have no doubt, though, that he's going to get healthy. Hopefully he stays healthy once the season starts. Matt Lauder might get lost in a deep wide receiver room, but if they need a tight end to either block or catch or be athletic or just be a rock star, Matt Lauder really jumped up and improved for me this year.
Yep. One of my biggest disappointments was showing up for the spring game, getting out to the field and seeing Matt Lauder wearing shorts and a jersey with no pads.
Yep.
And I was like, dadgummit, we're not going to get to see Lauder. Everything you said was true. And I'll tell you this, not one tight end caught a pass in the spring game. There were 21 pass completions, Forrest. Not one went to a tight end. You guys have thoughts, good, bad, ugly, whatever, on the spring game. 208-424-9300. Get in on this. Okay, my most improved player, I'm talking from the very first day of practice until the spring game. It was Malachi Nelson. You know, Prater talked about Mad Dog earlier, and he was right. Mad Dog stole the show early on, and he had us looking around like, really? 5-star? 5 stars of what? Maddox looks better than Malachi. Maddox looks ready. Fast forward to the end of spring, and no, Malachi, for whatever clicked, whatever needed to happen, happened. His comfort level grew. His passes grew. His spring performance, obviously, some of the teardrop passes he was putting in the hands. Prater, the first day he looked lost. He was very quiet, no body language whatsoever. And then by the end of fall camp, or if I wish, spring camp, he's kind of high-fiving. He's having fun with his guys a little bit more. We met his dad. You'll hear from his dad in a couple of minutes on this show. But Malachi Nelson, most improved player for me, Boise State spring. And man, I can't wait to see what Malachi's going to do with the football moving forward. Okay, Prater, one more. Give me a guy, this category is won a starting job in the spring. Do you have anybody?
I think there's only two. Only, in my opinion, there's only two that won starting jobs in the spring. You're going to get to a good one here in a second. Let's do this quick because we do want to hear from Eric Nelson. Unbelievable. Some things unbelievable that he said about how Malachi got here. Eric Nelson here in a few minutes. But I went with Hall Schmidt, the right tackle. And there was a three-man race at right tackle when spring camp started. And Moore got hurt, beat up his left knee just a little bit. So then it becomes a two-man race between Hall Schmidt and Kyle Cox, or as Dirk Cutter likes to call him, Kyle Young.
You never let Dirk forget that he forgot a dude's name once.
Only because I wouldn't. There's no way I could learn that many names as fast as he did. So he's still way better off than I am. But yeah, there was that one little snippet in the press conference, and that was kind of funny. But Hall Schmidt, Dirk Cutter loves him. Dirk Cutter was happy about him. We know Tim Keene talked a lot during spring camp, the offensive line coach, about Hall Schmidt. So we know that Boise State has 4 of 5 presumed starting offensive linemen taken care of, even though 2 of them didn't participate in the spring. And there's always going to be bumps and bruises with the big guys. But the Hall Schmidt, I think right now is your starting right tackle.
And this, for me, a position that was won in spring. Jeremiah Irby, Cal transferred at everything and more he needed to do at corner to let everybody in the program know, okay, happy they got this guy. This guy's going to plug and play right away and hopefully play at an all-conference level with what we saw. Jeremiah Irby, a terrific spring. Keep them coming. If you want to text us your thoughts on the spring game, we'll get to them in a second. This was our video segment airing on our YouTube channel, always brought to you by the Dollar Loan Center. They've been funding loans for 25 years. Visit don'tbebroke.com. They're safe, inexpensive, regulated, and thrilled to be opening 16 stores here in Idaho. That's don'tbebroke.com. Prater, coming up, the art of the deal with Eric Nelson, father of Malachi. Don't miss this. He talked with BNN a little earlier, and he talks with us. We play some of that. We come back on Prater in the Ballgame.
From the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Studios, this is Ticket Traffic.